Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Happy Thursday. We are almost through another week. How are y'all doing on this beautiful day? Welcome back to another episode of Nick at Noon. Today, we are going to be answering the question: do you need a website to start your coaching business? Because I think you may have heard the answer to this question in some ways, but you have yet to hear the answer to this question the Nick Scott way. Welcome. Thanks so much for joining. Today, we are going to be answering the question: do you need a website to start your coaching business? And some of you might have an idea of what I might be going to say about this. But some of what I'm going to say might also surprise you. So let's just get on into it, because here's the long and short of it. You don't need a website to sign your first coaching client, period. You do not need a website to sign your first coaching client. And I know that contradicts everything that you've been told. And it might even feel a little bit contradictory when you see coaches like myself and other coaches who have websites. And I know that the online business world has spent years convincing you and other women that before you can make a single dollar from coaching, you need a website, you need a logo, you need a brand, you need a color palette, you need a professional photo shoot and headshot, and a perfectly optimized Instagram bio. I know that the online business world has spent years, decades at this point, convincing you that that's what you need. And I'm here to tell you, as a true and through marketer whose experience is extensive in content marketing. So that means all the digital things, right? Websites, social media, brands, all of that stuff is what I have built my career on. And I am here to tell you that that is not true. And the belief that it has cost more women too much time, too much money, and too much momentum than almost any other single myth. I'm going to call it a myth in this industry. Welcome back to Nick at Noon. My name is Nick Scott, and I'm the founder and CEO of Her Income Edit. We are an online education platform where we help professional women turn their existing skills into multiple streams of income through coaching and digital offers. And we do this without encouraging them or convincing them to leave their 9 to 5, without burnout, and without starting from scratch. And today is Thursday. Happy Thursday. Happy Thursday, y'all. And on Thursdays around here on Nick at Noon, I give you my hot take about something. And before I get too deep into today's episode, I do want to mention real quick that I am hosting a live workshop on May 30th, and it is called Her Income Lab. We will be building your coaching offer together in real time. The waitlist is open. The link for the waitlist is in the description, or you can visit my website at herincomeedit.com/workshop. So if you haven't already, I want you to go get your notebook and your pen or whatever it is that you take notes on. Share this episode with your biz bestie or with a friend who needs it. And if you have any questions or comments, drop them in the chat if you're watching live, and I will get to them as I move along through this episode. If you are watching the replay, you can drop your questions in the comments, and again, I will get to them at the appropriate time, because we are about to get into this thing. If you have not picked it up already, today's hot take is: the website is not your business. The relationship is your business. And your first client does not need to find you through a website. She needs to hear from you directly. And I want to talk about why. But before I make the case for what you need to do instead of a website, I want to talk about where this myth in my industry comes from. Where does the myth that you need a website, that you need to have a logo and a brand color palette and a professional headshot and photo shoot and a perfectly Instagram bio before you can make your first dollar? Where does this myth come from? Because I feel like understanding the origins of this myth, it will make it easier for you to let go of. So the website myth comes from a conflation of two very different business models. So there is the online business model that acquires clients through search, SEO. I'm sure you've heard that. So search engine optimization, organic search, it comes through content. The clients come through organic discovery, right? And then there's the relationship based business model of a coaching business. And this one acquires clients through direct conversations and referrals. So for the first business type, a website, it matters. It matters enormously because the business is completely dependent on the website. The website is the hub. The website is where content lives. And that website for that first business model that I described, it's how a stranger would find you through Google search or through AI search or through a YouTube video or a social media post. And that visitor, that stranger that found you through those mechanisms, they could eventually become a client. And for that business, your website is a critical part of your infrastructure. No doubt about it. At this point in my business, my website is a critical part of my infrastructure. However, for a woman who is just building her coaching business, or she's building a coaching business completely from her existing skills and her existing network, that second type of business, the one that I described, the type where your business is built on relationships and referrals, and that is how you have built your business. This type of business doesn't need a website to make the first 10 sales. It needs to have conversations. So let me talk more about what has happened in the coaching industry. The people, the women who have built their businesses online, who have built their businesses through content, through SEO, through social media audiences, those women became the loudest voices in teaching others how to build coaching businesses. And naturally, they taught what worked for them. And that was an online infrastructure, including a website. But the women who came to those programs with years of experience, with established credibility and existing professional networks, they were handed a framework built for someone that was starting from zero. And I think that is a key difference that I want to make in every conversation that I have, because the women that I'm talking to, you're not starting from zero. You're not starting from zero. The women that I'm talking to, you likely have a degree, probably multiple degrees. You have years of experience in a profession, in a field that you've built a whole career around. You have massive life experience. So to compare yourself to a coach who doesn't have those things, but they have a coaching business, it's a completely different playing field, right? Like, you're misaligned from the start. And one of the most expensive parts of that framework right there, the framework of a coach who has built her business online, and she then invites you, someone who's not starting from scratch, because she started from scratch and that's the only way that she really knows how to coach and train people. What happens is that particular framework is one of the most expensive parts of the business. And it's not because websites aren't useful, because they are. Like, There's no doubt about it. We don't have to, I don't have to sit here and make a case or an argument around why websites are useful because we know they are. But it's because spending 3 months building a website before you've had a single sales conversation, that is not a strategy. That's not a strategy. Real talk, it's avoidance. And it's avoidance that looks like productivity. And that right there, in my opinion, is the most dangerous kind of avoidance, the kind that looks like you're being productive, but you're really keeping yourself comfortable and in a safe zone. Now, I want to talk about what building the website before you're ready can cost you because I think when you see the full price tag of this, the decision to wait on building a website, it becomes a lot easier. So, the first cost of building your website before you're ready is time. The first cost is time. Building a website from scratch, even with modern tools, it takes time. It takes a whole lot of time. It takes time in choosing a platform. It takes time in learning how to use that platform. It takes time in writing copy that you're not sure about because you haven't even validated your offer through real conversations. It takes time designing pages for that offer that might change completely once you start talking to potential clients. And that time that you've invested, that time that you've spent, it is not neutral. Because every hour you spend building a website before your first client is an hour you're not having the conversations that would produce your first client. And for a woman who is building alongside her full time job and a full life, those hours are the scarcest resource that she has. Time is the scarcest and one of the most valuable resources that she has. So spending that time on infrastructure before you have the income to support that infrastructure is one of the most common and most expensive ways that a coach will delay her first sale. So that is the first cost of building a website before you're ready, and that is time. The second cost is money because everything in this dang time costs money. I mean, if they could charge us to blink or breathe, I think they would put a subscription on it. Website platforms are no different. They cost money. Designers cost money. Designers cost a lot of money. Stock photography to put on your website costs money. Copywriters cost money. And all of that money is being spent before a single client has even validated your offer, your niche, or you don't even really know that your positioning is right. And here's the problem with that sequence. Most coaching offers, they change significantly after your first 5 to 10 real client conversations. Because what happens is you'll find that your niche gets sharper, that your language, the language that you're using, it gets more specific, and your transformation statement, your outcome statement, it gets clearer. So if you start to build your website before those conversations happen, you're building it on guesses and assumptions of all of those things. You're building it on an assumption about your niche and the language that you should use and what the outcome is. And then what happens is you're paying to rebuild your website around the evidence that you've collected. So, in essence, you're paying twice. You're paying once to get it up and running because that's what you think you need. And then after you get out here and you start having conversations and you start building that muscle, you realize, wait a minute, well, this messaging isn't quite landing and this isn't quite right. So then you have to update it or pay somebody else to update it. And that's paying twice. And even if it's you who's building the website, what did I just say about time? Like, time is the most scarce resource that you have available to you. So you're spending time doing something that is basically not producing any income. And you're doing it for something that honestly could have waited until you had the information that you needed to build it right the first time. So that is the second cost of building a website before you're ready to build a website. And that's money. The first one was time. The second cost is money. And the third cost of building the website before it's time to build a website is a false sense of readiness. And this one right here, this is the most insidious of all of them because when the website is done, it feels like you've accomplished something, right? It feels like you're ready. It feels like your business is real. It feels like you've earned the right to start selling, but your website doesn't make you ready. It doesn't make you ready. The conversations that you have, that's what makes you ready to sell. And your website is giving you a permission structure that it doesn't require you to have the conversations yet. Because now I have a website and I built it so they will come. So here's the thing. Your 9 to 5 has a website, right? Your 9 to 5 has a logo, it has a brand, it has a professional online presence. And the fact is, your 9 to 5 can be gone, it can disappear in a 15-minute phone call, or like the folks at Oracle just experienced a cold email at 6 o'clock in the morning. And that website that your 9 to 5 has, it doesn't protect you. And neither did the relationships. But here's the difference: the relationships that you build through direct coaching conversations, I'm talking about the clients, the referrals, and the reputation that you build, those relationships, they belong to you in a way that your job never does. And those relationships are built through conversations. They're not built through websites. So the bottom line is, if you don't need a website, then what do you need to sign your first coaching client? And the truth is, you need three things. You need three things to sign your first coaching client. The first thing you need is a clear offer. The second thing you need is direct outreach. And then the third thing that you need is a conversation that ends with a decision. And that right there, y'all, that is the whole game. Those three things, that's all you need. Now, I want to talk about each one separately. So if you're taking notes, this might be the part where you might want to jot some things down. So the first thing I want to talk about is a clear offer, because I think this one is the most important of the three to sign your first client. I mean, the obvious reason is because if you don't have anything to sell to the people, then, you know, you don't have anything to sell to the people and you won't get your first client, right? But I want to talk more about what I mean when I say a clear offer. Because by clear offer, I don't mean perfect. And I want to say that again. By clear offer, I do not mean perfect. I mean, your offer should be specific enough to say it out loud with confidence. So I help this type of person with this specific problem, and they leave our work together with this outcome. That sentence, when you say it with conviction, it is more powerful than any web page that you'll ever write. And your offer doesn't need a landing page. It doesn't need a sales funnel. It doesn't need a professionally designed PDF. What your offer needs is to be clear enough in your mind that you can communicate it directly to another person in a 2-minute conversation. And if you can do that, that right there is enough to start. So let's talk about the outreach piece, because that's the second thing that you need to start having to make yourself to put yourself in a position to sign your first client. The first was a clear offer. The second is direct outreach. And the direct outreach piece, this is the part where most women hesitate, because this is the part that requires you to be specific and intentional about who you're approaching, rather than just broadcasting content out into the interwebs and hoping that the right person finds you. So, direct outreach to someone in your existing network, it looks like this. So, you identify someone who has the problem that your coaching solves. You reach out to that person with genuine curiosity about what they're experiencing, and then you listen. And if and when the right moment presents itself, you might say, well, based on what you've shared, I think this is exactly what I work with my coaching clients on. And I'd love to tell you more about what that looks like. Are you open to having a conversation about it? And here's the thing about this, is this isn't a cold sales pitch or a cold pitch at all. It is a warm conversation. It is very specific, and it's a relationship based invitation. You are inviting a warm contact to have an additional conversation with you. And something like that is available to you right now today. It's not available. You don't have to wait until after a website is built. You don't have to wait until after your brand is finalized or after you have some content strategy in place. That is available to you today with the phone that you're watching this episode on. And it's available to someone whose phone number that you already have in that phone. So let's talk about this third thing that you need to sign your first client. The first was a clear offer. The second was direct outreach. And the third is a conversation that ends with a decision. It is a conversation that ends with a decision. Those are the three things you need to sign your first client. And this conversation piece, this is where the website question becomes completely irrelevant, because in that conversation, you're not asking someone to click a button on a website and enter their credit card details. You're sitting with another real, living, breathing human being. You're understanding their situation. You're explaining how you can help. You are stating your investment, and then you're asking if they want to work with you. And that conversation right there, it doesn't require a website. It requires your physical presence, not a web presence, your physical presence. It requires clarity about what you offer, and it requires clarity around what your offer costs. And this conversation, it also requires the willingness for you to ask for the sale, and then let the silence just be while your client makes a decision. Your job has a 9 to 5 structure, or whatever the hours are, right? Someone else decided, they told you when you needed to show up. They told you you need to report at this time. They decided what it is that you do, and they also decided what your job is worth. So whatever your salary is, right? And the the stark difference between your 9 to 5 structure and your coaching conversations is your coaching conversations are the complete opposite of that, because It requires you to show up on your terms, and you're offering something that you built, and you get to decide what your offer is worth. And then the person on the other side, they decide whether or not to invest. So that shift from employee to offer maker, it doesn't happen on a website, it happens in a conversation. It happens in a conversation. Now, I want to be honest about when the website does matter, because clearly I am not anti-website. I mentioned at the top of this episode that I have built my entire career in the online space with digital assets like websites and social media and content marketing. So I am clearly not anti website. I am anti website before your time. That's what I am. I am anti build a website before you're ready. That's what I am. A website starts to matter when you have more inbound interest than you can manage through direct outreach alone. That's when a website starts to matter. It matters when someone starts to find you through content. And it also starts to matter when a referral or a prospective client wants to learn more about you and what it is that you have to offer before they reach out to you. Because let's be clear, a website is a point of proof. It is a point of credibility. So when you get to the point that someone wants to learn more about you, and you're not out here handing out flyers or posting flyers all over the place, a website starts to make sense at that point. A website matters when you're ready to scale beyond your immediate network, and you need the infrastructure that works without you being personally involved in every conversation. And that moment comes in every business, in every coaching business. It does come. And for most coaches who are building consistently, it comes somewhere between months 4 and month 9. So it's within your first year, but it's definitely not within those first 3 months. And it's after you have had some clients, and it is after you have had some results. It is after your offer has been refined enough through market feedback that you know what to put on the page. Because at that point, your website is built on evidence rather than what you think or assumptions. And your copy on that website, it accurately reflects the language that your clients use to describe their own problems. And at that point, your offer is clear because it's been tested and proven. Your transformation and your outcome statement is specific because you watched it become true for people that you worked with by this time. And the website that I just described, that website converts because it is built on truth instead of hope. But the website that you build before your first client, that website is typically built on a hypothesis about what you think your clients need to hear. And your best educated guess before the market has taught you anything is almost always less accurate than what you'll know for certain after you've had 10 conversations. So, my advice to you on this episode of Nick at Noon is to wait for the evidence, and then to build your website on top of that evidence, not before it. Not before it. Somebody drop evidence in the chat. Now, I want to speak to something that I think is the most important point of this entire conversation. And that is the website myth costs women something more than just time and money. It costs them the window. And here's what I mean by that. Every professional woman, she has a network. She has colleagues, former classmates, community members. She has a network of people who have watched her work, a network of people who trust her judgment, and a network of people who would be genuinely receptive to hearing about what she's building. And that network is most accessible right now before your business is built. It is most accessible before your offer has been promoted publicly. It is most accessible before the people in your network have already formed opinions about what you do and whether or not it's for them. So, your first outreach to a warm network has a different quality, for lack of a better word, than the fifth outreach. So the first time you reach out, it has a different level than the fifth, because the conversations that happen before anyone knows what you're building something, they have a different openness than the ones that happen after you've been visibly pitching for months, right? Have you ever experienced that? I've experienced it. Um, when I first got into coaching in 2019, I've mentioned before that my first clients were people that I knew. And so then when I stepped away to take a 9 to 5, I was, not really working in this space as actively or as visibly as I was before. So then when I came back, it's like it's almost like network fatigue, right? Like, we knew you were doing this the first time. Now you're talking about it, talking about it, talking about it. Now I have opinions about it. Now I might be judging you about it. And now I might be supportive about it, right? That first outreach it's just a different level of quality than the fifth. And so that window, that newness window, that excitement window, that window is open right now. And every month that you are spending building a website instead of having conversations with your network, that is a month that window stays closed. And the fact of the matter is, your skills are your backup plan, they're your leverage, and they are your next income stream. But skills sitting behind a website that isn't built, that's not generating income for you. Like, because you don't need it. The skills in a conversation, that is generating income. And the conversation is available to you today. It's not when your website is finished. It's not when your brand is perfect and the logo is perfect. It's not when everything is in place. The conversation to your network is available to you today. That window of opportunity for your network to be excited about the thing that you're building, that's available to you today. So before I close, I would be remiss if I did not mention what I talked about just briefly at the beginning of this episode, and that is on May 30th, I am hosting her Income Lab. It is the live workshop where we build your coaching offer together in real time. And here's why today's conversation connects directly to her Income Lab. The clear offer that I talked about, the one that needs to be specific enough for you to say out loud with conviction, the clear offer that makes the direct outreach feel confident instead of awkward, is exactly what we will be building together in her Income Lab. We are not going to build a website or a brand guide or a content calendar. We are building your offer. We're building it together, and we're building it in real time. And your offer, that is the thing you need before you build anything else. Your offer is the foundation that everything else gets built on top of. So registration for her Income Lab isn't open yet, but the wait list is open. The link for the wait list is in the description if you are watching on YouTube, or you can go to my website at herincomeedit.com/workshop. And I want you to get on the wait list. Not only will you be first to know when the doors open for registration, but there's a few other goodies that I have in there for you as well. I'm gonna close by saying this one more time, in case I just haven't made my stance and my perspective and my POV on this clear yet. You don't need a website to sign your first client. You don't need a website to sign your first client. If you are taking notes, I want you to jot down in your notes and I want you to personalize this thing. I want you to write, I don't need a website to sign my first client. Make that an affirmation. What you do need is a clear offer. You need direct outreach and you need a conversation that ends with a decision. Those three things are available to you right now. And they're available to you with what you already have, from the skills you've already built and through the relationships that already exist. Your website can wait. The conversations cannot. Okay? Now, I want to take a minute and thank you all for showing up, popping in and out. Hello, hello. Thanks for joining, popping in and joining me on another episode of Nick at Noon. It has been my pleasure to give you my POV on my stance and how I feel about whether or not you need websites to start your coaching business. This is Nick at Noon. I am here Monday through Friday at noon Mountain Time. I want you to come back tomorrow, Friday. Woo, we are almost there, y'all. Come back tomorrow because, you know, Fridays are kind of freestyle Friday. I'm not quite solidified on what the topic is, but you already know it's going to be good. So I'll see y'all in the next one. Thanks so much for joining. Bye.